Yup, that's me, right after dropping my camera off a pretty sizable cliff. My name's Erik, and I went to New Zealand as part of IES Abroad in the fall of 2017. To say that this is my story is pretty self-centered. Instead, this is a story. I wanted to go abroad because I was getting a little too comfortable in my campus bubble. I felt the need to push myself out of my comfort zone, get me exposed to people and places I didn't know like the back of my hand. I always had a dream of going somewhere beautiful, to backpack and explore the mountains, rivers, coasts, you name it. I just had to make it happen. Well, I made it. I took summer classes, answered hundreds of emails, overpacked, and bam, I was sitting in an airport. Then, about 20 hours later, I spent the semester exploring Auckland and the rest of the North Island with friends from IES, clubs, and classes at school. During the week, I played some ultimate frisbee and explored the city, but escaped to some of the most beautiful places I've ever seen on the weekends. In all honesty, the amazing part about Auckland is not being in Auckland. The city is located right in the middle of the North Island, leaving countless adventures to be had to the north and the south. The first was a quick road trip to the Coromandel Peninsula, a place I would revisit and come to love. We learned how to drive on the left side of the road, explore some awesome jungle, and hiked up a really steep mountain until we were immediately blown off of it. As time went on, the semester turned into weeks of school and climbing, punctuated by awesome trips to somewhere amazing. Each week I would meet new people I still talk to today. Returning to a view of the harbor and an old volcano called Rangitoto each night was a perfect way to end the day. You good? Walk all the way over there and then all the way up? Or do you want to walk up? One of the all-time highlights of the semester was going to the central volcanoes of the North Island and doing the Northern Circuit, an amazing hike through alpine terrain. With me were Julian and Leo, who I played Ultimate Frisbee with in Auckland. Exploring a glacial and volcanic landscape with these two knuckleheads was one of the coolest experiences of my time in New Zealand. The rest of the semester went by pretty fast, and the sun was setting on my time in the North Island. The next big adventure waited on the South Island, home of crazy mountains, glaciers, and of course, more sheep. I started off with my friend Hannah. Hannah dropped me off, and then I met up with my friend Jack. After a brief climbing trip, my family flew over to complete the South Island circuit. Now that's what I call a good-looking travel map. Hannah and I rented a car that we affectionately called Whippy Goldberg. We started off in Queenstown, which is arguably the biggest tourist trap in all of New Zealand. But after checking out the Queenstown Bike Park, we escaped the crowds by hiking up Ben Lomond. After heading up to Wanaka, we drove down to Tainau to start the Kepler track, an awesome backpacking trip to the Fiordland National Park. After many miles of ridge hiking, stunning views, and encounters with some bugs,
Sandflies. They're pretty bad.
we returned to Teanau.
Survived the Kepler track.
Out of the blue, we literally ran into my friend Julian. You've seen him before.
Nice.
Running into him made me realize that there's a lot more to traveling than the mountains and hikes. It made me appreciate my company more than ever before.
Happiness only real when shared. Chris McCandles said this after venturing into the Alaskan wilderness alone to kind of throw off society's control over him. And though I'm outside, I'm certainly not dying. I'm actually having a pretty good time. But after spending a semester in Auckland and meeting so many people that have impacted me in countless ways, those words have a little more depth than what they used to. Goodbye, Whoopi Goldberg!
A psychology report published in 2008 showed that hills were perceived as less steep when with someone else. In that case, let's go climb some mountains.
First day, torrential downpour, some thunderstorms. Here's the campsite. The weather has turned around. It's a gorgeous day in the Fjordlands. Mother Nature heard our plea.
I embarked with my friend Jack on an epic 6-day through hike on the Greenstone and Rootburn tracks. The landscape was unbelievable.
Oh.
You could see the history in the rocks and the valleys. It was all pretty surreal. We were both afraid of getting numb to the gorgeous views, so Jack suggested imagining being back in class. It sure worked.
What? That's insane.
A second trip took us to Ball Pass, an unmarked alpine climb near the tallest mountain in New Zealand. Some snowfields let us have some extra fun up there before Jack dropped me off in Christchurch.
Take us home, Rick.
I decided to hitchhike my way up to an eccentric climbing crag, where the bathroom walls were covered in cheesy quotes. Soon after, my mom, dad, and sister arrived in New Zealand.
So there's on the Copeland track,
Nice. How far in are we?
maybe a mile.
Nice.
I got to drag these hooligans around with me. Though they claimed the only reason for coming was to make sure I got on the plane home, showing them some of the country I had come to love was unforgettable.
Watching the sunset.
During the 2 months of living out of backpack in New Zealand, I had a lot of time to reflect on what made this so worth it. I kept thinking back to what Chris McCandles carved into a piece of wood all those years ago. Sure, you can have plenty of fun on your own, enjoy your own company, be independent, but that's not the point. I learned to appreciate those around me in a way I may have taken for granted before.
Guess what I'm trying to say is this. Though I'm leaving the landscapes behind, the people are still out there. The memories that I've made with the people I've met here, well, those aren't going anywhere anytime soon, so thanks.